Welcome back to The Explainer. I'm so excited you're here today because we're getting into something that literally sits right at the crossroads of science, strategy, and business success. We're going deep on Consumer Insight Consulting's advanced workshop, Sensory Training II. If you work in food product development, you already know launching a new product is a massive undertaking. But what we're going to see today is exactly how advanced sensory analysis can completely overhaul that process, moving your team away from subjective guesswork and toward hard data. And ultimately, that saves a ton of money and mitigates some serious financial risk. Let's get right into it.
Why do new food products fail? I mean, it's the multi-million-dollar question, isn't it? We see it all the time. These incredibly costly food launches hit supermarket shelves, backed by massive marketing campaigns, only to completely bomb with consumers. The packaging looks amazing, the trend is hot, but fast forward 6 months, and the product is quietly discontinued. So what goes wrong? A lot of the time, it boils down to a massive disconnect between what the R&D team tasted in the lab and what the actual consumer experience is sitting at their kitchen table.
When that consumer experience doesn't match the lab's expectations, we run headfirst into 3 major risks. Number 1, launching unaccepted products. And look, that's not just a bruised ego. That's a fast track to massive financial loss. Number 2, inefficient use of R&D budgets. You're basically pouring money down the drain on innovations that don't align with what people actually want to taste, smell, or feel. And number 3, losing your competitive advantage. Because if your brand doesn't truly understand consumer preferences, you can bet your competitors will figure it out. The takeaway here? Poor sensory understanding isn't just some science problem. It literally means wasted money and lost market share. So to solve this, Consumer Insight Consulting put together a highly targeted program. Here's what we'll be looking at in today's explainer. First, the innovation risk. Second, we'll go inside sensory training 2. Third, the 5 advanced sensory methods. Fourth, we'll look at the 1-day practical agenda. And finally, translating data to value.
All right, let's jump right into part 1, the innovation risk, bridging the gap between science and strategy.
Moving right along to part 2. Inside Sensory Training II, Advanced Skills for Professionals.
You know, precise sensory analysis is not just some abstract thing happening in a sterile lab. It's the absolute foundation of effective product development, and there is a clear distinction to make here. Sensory Training 1 gives you the fundamental, basic knowledge of sensory analysis, but Sensory Training 2, that is a major step up. To take this course, you actually need to have that basic understanding under your belt already, because it's built to push you further. It focuses heavily on advanced techniques and, crucially, how to practically interpret those results to make real-world business decisions. And because of that strategic focus, the audience for this is incredibly diverse. We're not just talking about lab techs here. Yes, this training is absolutely essential for sensory specialists and R&D teams for sure, but it is equally vital for quality assurance managers, innovation managers, and even marketing teams. Having this kind of cross-functional appeal is a total game changer. It ensures that both your deep science minds and your business-focused teams are speaking the exact same language when they're trying to make a product succeed.
That brings us to Section 3, 5 Advanced Sensory Methods, Professional Tools for Precise Evaluation.
Okay, let's break down exactly what participants are learning. The workshop trains professionals in 5 specific methodologies: the triangle test, the duo-trio test, paired comparison, the ranking method, and 5-point scaling. You can really think of these 5 steps as this powerful arsenal of difference tests and scaling methods. They're designed specifically to detect those incredibly subtle product changes and to perfectly map out consumer preferences. Let's actually isolate a couple of these to see how they work in the real world, starting with the triangle test. This is a sensory method used to figure out if there's a detectable difference between 2 products. You evaluate 3 samples. 2 are exactly the same, 1 is different, and the participant just has to pick the odd one out. It sounds simple, right? But what's so fantastic about this training is that people don't just sit there reading definitions. They get their hands dirty and actually apply the triangle test to real prototypes and live food formulas right there in the workshop. And that builds beautifully into the duo-trio test. This is a difference test where participants have to match 1 of 2 coded samples to a known reference sample. Now, why is this so important to teach? Well, imagine your company suddenly needs to swap out a crucial ingredient supplier, or maybe you need to tweak a recipe to lower production costs. You really need to know, is the consumer actually going to notice this change? The duo-trio test is absolutely critical for keeping your product consistent during those behind-the-scenes operational shifts. It drastically lowers the risk of accidentally ruining a recipe your customers already love.
Then we have 5-point scaling. This one is a quantitative method used to measure the intensity of specific product attributes. We're talking taste, aroma, texture, appearance. Now, normally those feel like highly subjective experiences, right? Like, how do you measure crunch? But the brilliant thing here is that 5-point scaling takes those squishy subjective feelings and translates them into hard, quantifiable data. By scoring the intensity, R&D can objectively tweak the formula. And suddenly, marketing teams have reliable, concrete data points they can actually use to build their campaigns.
Next up, Part 4. A one-day practical agenda. 6 hours of intensive workshop.
Now, this isn't some dragging, week-long academic seminar. It's 6 hours of intense, hands-on learning. Just walking through the timeline, you can see how efficiently the day is structured. At 10 a.m., things kick off with the basic principles. Boom! By 11 a.m., everyone's already into Part 1 of the applications, getting hands-on with those difference tests. You take a quick lunch break at 12:30, and then from 1:30 onward, the whole afternoon is dedicated to Part 2. That's where they tackle the more practical applications, the scaling methods, and most importantly, how to actually interpret the test results. It's just a really efficient balance of theory and deep, practical exercises.
Because look, at the end of the day, going to a workshop is great and all, but it absolutely has to result in real business outcomes and a solid return on investment, right? This is all about taking the science and turning it into massive corporate value. And this program delivers some serious credibility markers. For one, the sensory tests they teach are totally compliant with recognized ISO standards. That guarantees absolute reliability for your QA teams. Plus, they provide full training materials, and this is huge, post-training implementation support. So you actually get expert consultations after the workshop to make sure the knowledge sticks. And obviously, everyone walks away with an official certificate of participation. That whole support structure really ensures the learning provides long-term value.
But the results really speak for themselves. Listen to this glowing client review. Training E deepened our sensory knowledge and significantly improved our innovation process. I mean, wow. Other clients have pointed out how these advanced methods sharpen the accuracy of their product decisions too. It's just undeniable social proof. That €600 investment isn't just buying a day out of the office. It translates to immediate, tangible improvements in how your R&D department actually functions and innovates.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. Are you ready to upgrade your team's sensory skills and stop guessing what consumers want? In today's hyper-competitive food market, you just cannot afford to launch products based on gut feelings. You need reliable, hard sensory data. By arming your team with the tools taught in Sensory Training II, you're drastically reducing your innovation risk. You're building products that actually align with what the market wants, and you are securing a lasting competitive advantage.